Okay, you're live.
Yay!
Yay. Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Can you see us? Can you see us and hear us?
Let's see. I think they can, but let's be sure. Okay, I see a thumbs up. I think that's a good sign.
Okay.
Okay. Yep, people are saying yes, they can hear us.
Yay! Okay,
Yay!
well, welcome everybody. If you're new to my channel, my name is Reverend Donna Seraphina. I'm a spiritualist reverend. I have a background in criminal justice, and I've had several family members murdered, so I do have quite experience with the entire thing, and that's what's led me down this path. And I have a special guest today. You might already know her. Her name is Lauren from the YouTube channel Sweetie Pilo, True Crime.
Hello. Hello, if any of my subs are in here. Hello, and hello to Donna's subs that I don't know. Hope everybody's doing well.
Yeah, this was kind of a surprise guest. So hopefully, so I wonder, should we start with what we were talking about the
coordinates?
Yeah, the coordinates. So, okay, so this is what's going on. On the case of the 4 Idaho college students, Lauren and I, we did a live stream on January 1st, which is on her channel, if you want to watch it. Yeah. It's kind of a no holds barred. I don't usually talk like that, but I was getting a lot off my chest. But at the same time, we were also talking about a website called 4chan, and it's very obnoxious. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, but there was some good information put out on there. And just like other social media platforms, it seemed that Bryan was all over it. And at one point, every time you go on 4chan, I believe you get a new ID number. You don't actually have an account. And so one person was giving coordinates where they might find something. And okay, you could take it from there, Lauren.
So, gosh, let's see. Was this, let me remember if there's a specific date. I think it was maybe November 20th. It could have been a little before then, though. There was 2 separate occasions where somebody was in 4chan dropping actual coordinates. And these coordinates, when I had my husband plug in the coordinates, because they're written down in such a way that, like for me, when I try to look it up on my own, I wasn't able to find the locations, but I'm not great with that kind of stuff. So my husband is. So he checked it out. One of these locations that's listed in these coordinates is just outside of Moscow. And then the other location, and by the way, I think it was Robinson Park and was it Pinecrest Drive, I think. So it's kind of like in a random field behind some, almost looks like a barn or something like that, just randomly in this field. That's where the coordinate goes to. Now, this other location is to a place in Viola, which is north of Moscow. And that also is in a very random field. So Donna wanted to, she wanted me to tell you guys that a few days ago, one of my subs, or a person that's like newly acquainted with my videos, had reached out to me, and they were very interested in going to look at these locations. So I sent them over all I had as far as the coordinates and stuff go. And yesterday, this person went out and started looking at stuff and, you know, kind of checking it out with their metal detector. So if there is something out there, I assume there's snow and stuff. He's supposed to send me some videos, so at least I can better see the areas of what they look like and stuff. But if there's something, you know, he knows obviously to call law enforcement and stuff. But it should be really interesting, because why these locations? Why these random coordinates? And so many people, I think, were dismissing how important those coordinates could be. Just because, oh, it's 4chan. Like, who's going to really drop any important info there? But the thing is people do, because it's so anonymous on there.
Oh, yeah, they do real good info. So I was wondering if your husband had tried to see where the coordinates would go if he reversed them, as far as put one before the other. And I just had this idea, because you know how they have that little gnome in front of his parents' shed or little
Yeah.
house back there or whatever. Just to see, I mean, it could end up being
Good
Brazil
idea.
or Africa, but just to rule that out also.
Okay, yeah. I'll have him do that tonight when he gets home and stuff. I'll talk to him about that. I think that's a great idea. You never know. It could be important, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you never know. So,
Definitely.
okay. So thank you for the super chat. Let's see who did that. That was nice of you. KG, thank you very much. Very much appreciated. Okay, so what else is going on? Do you know of the main kind of gossip and rumors and different
The
things going around?
latest rumors. Let me think. Gosh, there's always something, isn't there? Every
Yeah,
day it's a new.
about every 4 days, I notice that's the cycle.
I
They
know,
pick a new
and it's
person to, like, tear apart or
oh, yeah,
whatever.
they just, like, rip their lives apart, you
I
know,
know.
figure out who their kindergarten teacher was. It's just
Uh,
crazy.
yeah.
So the latest that I've heard, let's see, that seemed important. Oh, let me think. You know, there's just so much speculation lately. There's because law enforcement doesn't come out and confirm any of this, the speculation and rumors just insane, you know?
That's contributing to it, yeah, the
It
lack of
is.
information,
It
the
is.
complete lack of information. So, I guess,
Yeah.
well, we could start with the search warrant on his apartment, right?
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
thank you, Aunt Deanie,
Mhm.
and let's see, Reverend Donna and SPS, Sweetie Pilot.
Sweetie Pie, yeah. Yeah.
Do you know if BK is convicted, will he go to the same prison as Chad Daybell?
That's a good
They'll
question.
probably have rooms in hell right next to each other, like, right?
Oh, that's funny.
That's interesting. That's a good one to look up at the prison system up there. Now, I haven't looked up their
Yes.
prison system.
Oh, yeah, I haven't either. I don't have a clue where he could end up going, but wouldn't that be something?
So, you know what the very latest little thing that people caught was this woman. Is this just Platinum Blonde that's representing Bryan?
Oh, yeah, Taylor, Ann Taylor, I think her name is?
And she was actually representing Xana Kernodle's mom.
Oh,
On
yes.
Xana Kernodle's mom has some minor
Yep.
drug charge up there.
Yeah.
I believe it's minor. And she was so she withdraws from representing Xana's mom so she can represent this killer. But to
Uh-huh.
me, that's not very smart of Idaho, because Bryan has a built-in appeal then, because even if she has him sign a waiver, like, I represented, he could turn around and say, you know what, she didn't do her job, she was
Yeah.
biased, whether it's true or not. It's like they're
Oh,
giving
totally.
him an automatic appeal. Why are they even doing that? Why even go there?
Right.
And then the other thing that I wonder, when Bryan comes in and he's sitting next to this Platinum Blonde, just like the two that he slaughtered,
Mhm.
what's he thinking?
Oh.
What do you guys think? You tell me, what is he thinking? Thank you, Petra. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Um, what's he thinking? What's Bryan thinking?
I don't know.
And what's she thinking? I mean, it's like, if you're sitting alone with this guy, hopefully you never piss him off,
Oh,
because
exactly.
he really hates blonde women. He really hates that
Mm.
bleached blonde cheerleader look.
Mhm.
Makes him want to kill. Like, I don't
Mhm.
know what's going on in their minds.
I don't know how anybody would wanna be in the same room as this guy. He is to me, he looks like, something out of your nightmares, personally, that's what I think when I look at him.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being in the same room? That's hard to imagine, like, what just the allegations of what he's done,
Oh,
how
yeah.
could any woman wanna be in the same room?
And the fantasies, like, when I was connected to his mind, what he wanted to do. Oh, yeah,
Right.
so that takes us to what they found in his apartment,
Yes.
right?
I wanted to talk about that, yeah.
Yeah,
Holy
because
cow.
you know what? He says, okay, so I said some really gross things that
Mhm.
I saw him do.
Yeah.
So the day before they arrested him, I put up that graphic warning to his mother, like, you are in danger, don't confront him, he will kill you too, remember? And it was like either that night or the night after they did the raid and arrested him.
I know.
And isn't that weird? Because it's
It
like, I
is.
had no physical world way of knowing he was at his parents'.
Right.
But I just knew, I could see the mom, you know, thinking that, and if she said anything, of him just sticking a knife right in her too. So they were lucky. But what so I'd seen a few things, right? I
Yes.
had seen his fantasy where people keep saying, and I'm like, why do they keep saying that? I've explained it already, why his belt sheath may have fallen off.
Mm-hmm.
Because he may have hoped to be able to consummate his sick fantasy.
Yeah.
And then I talked about the fantasy at his mother's, which was another a sick thing he did.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, what struck out of the search warrant on his apartment was the fact that there was so much blood in his bed.
Thank you. That's exactly when I saw that, Donna, I'm thinking, this is like what she was talking about, because all over his bed, what do people do in private in their beds? It's
Yeah.
exactly what you said.
Yeah. So even before he went to take a shower, he wanted to do that with the blood on him. I mean,
Ugh,
that's what that tells me. And so that's just one more just disgusting
it's so nauseating.
confirmation. What?
It's so nauseating to imagine, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
But I mean, he clearly, because that's where the blood is.
yeah.
He didn't go straight to the shower. He went straight to his bed
Mhm.
to
Right,
yeah,
right, yeah.
sicko. This guy is so sick.
Mhm.
Uh,
What Donna, why do you think we keep hearing, well, I personally keep hearing these commentators on these news networks like News Nation and stuff, they're acting so underwhelmed by this probable cause affidavit. Are you underwhelmed? How do you feel about it?
okay, do you mean the search warrant or the probable cause for arrest?
Actually, I'm sorry, the search warrant. That's what I meant to say. The search.
Oh, the search warrant. Well, they were hoping that there would be more.
Yeah,
They were
right.
hoping that so it looks like what it sounds like he did was he maybe wore some larger clothes, or like people keep putting up that overall thing.
Yeah.
Um, wore that, probably took it off by the time he walked to his car, slipped his shoes off. So he didn't leave a trail as much in his car, but obviously there'd still be a trail. He must have had blood in his hair. And
Mhm.
I did see him. I saw him bring a big jar. I've seen a big jar and I've seen a little jar. Okay.
Mhm.
I saw a little jar he brought to his parents that looked like the size of a baby food jar of
Yeah.
blood. And that's what I saw him using at his parents. And then I saw him a bigger jar where he took a body part and he buried it at the same time he buried the knife, but he didn't bury them right next to each other. So that's what I saw.
Do you
And
thi Oh, sorry. I don't
no,
wanna
I'm
interrupt.
sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, do you think it's possible he buried this stuff, like, really could have buried it at his parents' once he arrived?
It's possible. So I don't think he would have an attachment to the clothing.
Right.
So he probably got rid of that somewhere, and maybe that's what they'll find. And
Yeah.
that coordinates you're looking at, and they could even find the knife there. I mean, he could have done it. I don't know where he did it. Clearly he went all over the state that day.
I
Um,
know.
yeah.
Right.
So he was on a massive adrenaline rush.
Big time.
When I saw him, okay, when I saw him after the murder and he was looking at what he did, he was exhilarated. He
Mhm.
was on a high. It was like the energy just explosion in the house, and it pure adrenaline, no remorse whatsoever in the slightest bit.
Yeah.
And so that kind of adrenaline would keep someone up for days.
Oh, it's probably similar to, like, a meth high. You know how the meth keeps people up for days and days and days? I can imagine for him, that's what it could have been equivalent to.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, just
Wired him
being
up.
wired. So he goes home.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess the arrest, the search warrant for his apartment was important because it verified more that I've said, how disgusting how this is a
Right.
SA crime, even
Mhm.
though he wasn't able to carry out the SA things at his house. I mean, at their house, he clearly went home and laid in his bed and did something before taking a shower. So he's all meticulous about all this other stuff. And he still didn't throw that stuff away.
Yeah.
Now that's weird too. So he must have really thought he was out of the blue as far as, I mean, because how do you not know that you've got a pillow laying there with a bunch of blood soaked
Right?
into it, right?
I know. I really think he didn't. So there's 2 things actually. I think one of the things I think is either he didn't care about getting caught or he almost wanted to get caught because he didn't think that they were in any way that he was in any way in their sight, law enforcement sight, because he wasn't truly connected to them. He wasn't like a former boyfriend of any of theirs.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know what to make of it. Did he want to get caught?
That's a good question. If anyone else has any input about that, if he
Yeah.
wanted to get caught or not.
Yeah.
I've
'Cause
wondered that too. And then the only thing I can think of is he's a narcissist, right?
Mhm.
So clearly people who've known him have talked about the fact that he always wants everyone in the room to know he's smarter than them. He
True.
can recite more facts than them. Okay?
Mhm.
So he's super smart. He may not be anything else, but he's so intelligent that other people are not as intelligent. And
Right.
that could have been what did him in.
Could have been.
So it's either the narcissism or yeah, did he have some inner desire to get caught and then the
Yeah.
attention that that would bring? Was he looking forward to, years of people wanting to interview him and getting a
Right.
special name and going down in history?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is in August, he put genetic or excuse me, his genealogy, those tests, those 23andMe, he
Yeah.
actually had that uploaded, so he did the swab, is what I'm getting at, the DNA swab, and he had that uploaded into the database in August,
So why
from
would
what
he
I
do that
understand.
so he was
Exactly.
already stalking them, right?
Uh-huh.
Like he started stalking them. Why would he put his DNA in there?
I know. I know.
You would wonder if he did wanna get caught.
Right, right, and then leaving the sheath behind, and you say it's probably from unzipping the pants. That totally makes sense to me. In fact, somebody
He
wrote
wanted to
something.
put some blood on it,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know? His
exactly.
fantasy was to be able to do that there with the bodies.
Mhm.
He's he's as sick as Ted Bundy that way.
Yes,
Ted Bundy
absolutely.
was real sick like that. He liked to do things with he would go back as the body was decomposing and do it again. He is
Uh,
so this guy is real sick in the head also.
yes, and there is no doubt in your mind, Donna, right, that they've got the right guy.
Oh, for sure.
I feel the
For
same way.
sure,
There's
for
not a doubt in my
sure.
mind.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's no doubt in my
No
mind
doubt.
either because I saw him and not as clearly as you see him on TV, but I saw him well enough to describe him, which fits him
Yes.
to a T. But the other thing is his energy. There's no doubt
Mhm.
in my mind that that's who did those murders at all.
Right. No,
No.
there isn't in mine either, at all. And you know how it is, just like with Brian Laundrie and Gabby, there's always gonna be those people come out in defense of the, accused, and they're doing it with this Brian as well. Like, "Oh, he's innocent." I don't know.
I saw in some group, I don't know if it's true that he already had $10,000 on his books.
Really?
Yeah.
I hadn't
People
seen
are
that.
already writing him. He's already got his little fan club and everything.
Just like Dahmer did. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Sick,
Yeah.
sick. We can't be supporting these maniacs, you know?
No, they need to quit having special names. They need to quit having, you
Right.
know, this buildup in the mainstream media, a fascination with them where it's put over the top and all that should stop.
I totally agree. Um, I've been wanting to ask you since I haven't been able to really have a conversation like this since our live we did a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago. What are your thoughts on this whole Dylan thing now? A DM, the roommate.
Yeah, Dylan.
Yeah.
So in the Xana Kernodle reading that I did for a couple friends of hers, I don't know if you heard that segment. So that was the day or two before. Thank you, Robin. That was a day or two before they released the affidavit. So it's real interesting that they put foreshadowings in that reading, right? Because they were getting me to say about the button. And then the other thing was they did a whole segment on Dylan, showing us Dylan.
Right.
And so this is before anyone even knew. and it showed, because I saw her falling back, and it was
Mm.
like her body was out of her physical body.
Oh,
She,
okay.
and I guess that's what they call disassociation, but the way I saw it was in her room, she was like, her body was falling back on her bed, and she was in so much shock that her energy body was out of her body.
Oh, that's what that meant. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, she was definitely traumatized, and they showed me so much trauma because they had me feel her trauma for a minute, and the level of trauma was so much that a human brain could not handle it.
Okay.
That it would make you wouldn't even think you're going crazy because there's so much trauma, there are no thoughts,
Right.
right? Thank you, Bean, very much appreciated.
Makes
Um,
sense.
um, and I was worried about something, but I didn't want to say it without figuring out how to say it right. But I had a feeling like she's at jeopardy, a risk of self-harm.
Oh, okay.
And I felt concerned about that at the
Okay.
time because the trauma was so extreme that, and I was saying, boy, I hope she has professionals that are helping her through this. But
Okay.
unfortunately, most professionals have never actually been through anything like this. So all they can do is recite what they read in a book, right?
Right. Right.
She really, really needs a strong support system around her. And then,
Absolutely.
people say, "Oh, was she on drugs?" The the thing is, I don't have a knowing about that. I mean, you would wonder, and the rumor about different drugs, clearly they were all intoxicated on
Mhm.
something, and
Mhm.
people that age definitely experiment a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
more.
They do.
Um, could she have been on? Yeah, but in the end, that doesn't make her guilty of murder.
No. 2
It
separate
doesn't.
things.
No, it's 2 separate things, and then if she was raised in a family or around people where you're taught not to call the police,
Mhm. True.
like, she coulda woke up. You keep hearing all these different rumors, like, one is, "Oh, they
Yeah.
woke up and the door was locked and, um, Ethan's alarm clock kept going off." Or you hear other people say the smell and stench would have been so strong because not only if you have stab wounds, but if they're in the intestines, there is gonna be a lot of smell.
Oh, of course. I didn't even think about that.
So
Yeah.
so what happened? We're gonna have to wait and see.
Mhm.
Um, I think that people should pray for her. I
Yeah.
think that she's been through a traumatic situation that is gonna affect her whole life,
Yeah.
and, I've asked a few times about, "Show me, is there anything that she did even inadvertently?" Um, and I'm not getting anything like that,
Okay. Yeah.
so
I know it's such a delicate subject, we all have to approach really carefully because she truly can be a victim, like, in this, and she is, as of right now, an absolute victim, of circumstance, of being in the same house while all that happened, so
and
it's
the
like
thing about their house
yeah.
is it was normal for strangers to walk in in fact, I feel like they probably never locked their sliding door. I feel like, I mean, a lot of times they had it set off or they gave all their friends the number to the front door, and,
Mhm.
so it was normal in that house for strangers to be going in and out at all hours. That was
Mhm.
normal, you
Yeah.
know? And so she sees someone and she's scared from all the noise, but she doesn't know. And it's
Yeah.
like it does feel like she must have known something to be in that level of trauma where she's literally knocked out of her body. If you've
Interesting.
ever been in a bad car accident or had some really severe thing happen where you're not even in touch with your physical body anymore, that's how she was. And
Wow.
so yeah, I just think that people need to pray for her and give
Mhm.
her support, and who cares if she was on drugs? Who really cares? Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's irrelevant to me if she
yeah.
was, like,
No, it's irrelevant, and maybe
certainly
the drug
murder.
laws but it doesn't seem like, oh, I'm on drugs and now I'm not. Now maybe in the morning when they were going to call the police, she wanted to get drugs out of there. And I don't want to even make that accusation though, just because it's such a serious court date. And
Right.
but the defense is going to have a field day. The defense is
I
going to
know.
have a field day with this whole entire thing with
That's what I'm
Dylan,
thinking.
and she is, from what we see so far, she's the star witness.
Exactly. And if they deem her to be unreliable, what happens to the case?
Well, exactly. Or if they can, what do they call it when they kick a witness off the stand?
Not voir dire, is that what no, that's not voir
No,
dire.
that's the jury, what you did to the jury.
Yeah, yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
I forgot too. Let's see a
Yeah.
couple of these questions.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
go for
let
it.
me see. Have you gotten any impressions about his teacher? She's talking about the
Yeah.
teacher that studies.
Ramsland. Ramsland.
I
Yep.
think that what my feelings are about that is that just goes to show it's such a good illustration of how people have two different lives, or how they can put up a front.
Mhm.
And in that front, he's this good student, he's a smart kid, da da da. But in the back, he's plotting murdering people. And someone who's even studied that and teaches that didn't notice.
I know.
So I just think it's a real good example of how good people can lie, and
Mhm.
how you can't trust people. You can't always only go on your gut instinct, and when you're looking at anyone like Boy Scout teachers or regular teachers, or, field trips or the YMCA, whatever, SA people seek out those kind of jobs. And just
Exactly.
like Bryan was trying to be a cop. I mean,
I
he applied
know.
to be a cop there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you imagine how many
I
years he would be
know.
going along doing these murders of co-eds the whole
So
time,
freaky.
before he got caught?
So
Yeah.
freaky to imagine.
Let's see anymore. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Hazel. Thank you, I'll repeat that. I don't know what that is. Have you got, his teacher? So that, yeah, his teacher. It's very interesting.
It is, and now she's got like is it a gag order, I think, where she's not able to speak on any of this case, right? Whereas before she found out that he was the guy, she was openly talking about it on different channels from what I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, she was on a bunch of different channels,
Yeah,
and then
she
all of
was.
a sudden she said, I can't say
Changed
anything
everything,
anymore because I don't know if I'll be a witness or not."
right? And then it
Yeah.
turns out, whoa, that's wild,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Mhm.
Mhm. Sure is. I'm recognizing some names in the chat. Hello, electronic medium. Good to see you.
Is she there?
Yeah,
Hi.
hi, Judy.
My chat's going slower probably.
Did you
Finally, for the first
I
time
know
ever.
sometimes it's
I'm not complaining. I guess for
I
the
know.
first time I can read it.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you, Kate. Some people are more angry at Dylan than Bryan. Yeah, Dylan seems to be a favorite to be
Yeah,
bashed,
yeah.
and it's like, why? I mean,
Mhm.
if you live in a house of people where there's constant parties, constant people in and out, constant everything all night long,
Right.
you know, I would say, yeah, if the surveillance camera picked it up 50 feet away, why didn't she?
Yeah.
And she could have been wasted out of her mind, but all of them were
Mhm.
regularly. So, um,
Yeah.
I just saw her. That's just how they showed it to me. They just showed me her just when she shut her door. It was like her body fell back on her bed, but it was going like this. Woo, 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 woo. And then
Gotcha.
she was in so much shock. It was like her energy body was out of her body. She
Wow.
wasn't even in her body.
Yeah.
So
Your Xana, your friend, your reading you did with a friend of Xana's, in the very, I don't know, first 10, 15, 20 minutes, there's a point where you are talking about DM, I believe. And
yeah.
you see her with a box, a small box, big box. I don't know what kind of box it was. What was your feeling in that moment? I've been wanting to ask you that, but you
In
know.
that moment, it felt like she was hiding drugs.
Okay.
So it
See,
felt
that's
like
what I
before
thought.
calling the police, she was trying to find anything that could get them in trouble.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was just making sure because that's
I
what
don't
it
want to
sounded
make
like.
accusations, but that's how I saw it and
Okay.
what I believe to be occurring there. That was in the
Okay.
morning. And even, do you remember I say, and Hunter, so Ethan had a brother named Hunter, right?
Yeah.
But I was saying, and I'm even seeing Hunter come in there. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Could he have been who killed people and stuff like that? Remember, that was at the very first reading. Well, it
Right.
turns out that guy with the necklace is also named Hunter.
That's right. He is. Yeah. Hunter
And
Johnson, I
he's
think.
one of the people okay, so that mother that has called a few shows, she called me like over a month ago. I talked to her for a couple hours on the phone before.
Okay.
And she told me that Dylan called Hunter the brother, Ethan's brother named Hunter.
Okay.
And the other day I also heard that Hunter with the necklace was one of the people that came and came over to the house to see what was going on or whatever.
Really? So he was part of the Sigma Chi group that came over before the cops actually arrived.
That's what I've been told. I mean, he hasn't confirmed it. We're probably
Okay.
only going to find out when it all goes to court. But that's what
Right.
and well, and, his girlfriend lived almost like right next door in the apartments next to that house.
Right. Yeah.
So, or one house over or whatever. So he could have been sleeping there.
Yeah.
But
That's what I'm having the hardest time with about this whole situation. And of course, so much of it could be rumor, but the idea of people coming into the home when there is like 4 dead people in a home, like, you know, cops, get the cops there. That's what doesn't make sense to me, Donna. That's the hardest thing that's the thing I've had the hardest time with, I think, is why not before like nobody should have been in that house or even around that house. It should have been
no.
cops, paramedics immediately.
Yeah. And it, it could be that
Yeah.
she was so scared and she woke up and panicked and then
Mhm.
someone came over. Yeah, there's some problems. I mean,
I
the
know.
defense is going to have a field day with the whole thing
I think
of,
so
of
too.
how, the police got called and why didn't she just call 911 and things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a huge problem, I think.
Yeah.
I don't
Thank you,
even know what
Karen,
to do.
very much.
Hmm.
She was able to call their friends. Sorry, she's involved. Yeah, people are unforgiving as
Yeah.
far as the fact that she called her friends.
That's been the thing I've had the most problem with out of all this. But when you explain it like you did about the her out of body experience because it was so frightening, so traumatic, then it really makes sense to me. But at the same time, I'm going, still having people having Sigma Chi, if that is true, having Sigma Chi come over before law enforcement, that's nuts. I just can't make sense of that
Yeah,
one.
there's really no excuse. The only thing I can think
Right.
of is maybe, her boyfriend, they said, "Oh, he wants to be a gangbanger." So
Yeah.
how did she grow up, like, as far
Mhm.
as law enforcement? Did she grow up in a family where you're taught not to call the police?
True. Good
You have
point.
to look at different factors like that because, like, when I grew up, when I lived at my mother's, she allowed my older brothers to grow. We lived in a big split level, and she allowed them to grow the whole bottom half with marijuana.
Really?
Yeah, in the
Wow.
'80s, and my mother was dating the King County, Washington, the sheriff. She was practically living with
Wow.
him, and he's the one in the paper. So he wasn't even a deputy. He was the sheriff that's always
No
in the paper.
kidding.
Yeah.
And this is why your brothers are growing weed?
Yeah, and he
No
came over
way.
one time and ripped out all their plants, and, so my brother, like, on the big split level, he was gonna come over one time. My brother spent the whole afternoon getting these big dirt clods and lining the roof. He was gonna drop them on his head or whatever. And I thought the guy was handsome, so I was, like,
Yeah.
baking him brownies, and it was so funny, but I grew up so my mom was almost never home. She, like,
Okay,
came home a couple times a month. So
okay,
I for real, she pretty much lived elsewhere. And
okay.
so
That's
and so
funny.
I grew up with my older brothers teaching me, you see a cop, you don't talk to the cop.
Right.
If the cop talks to you, the only thing you tell him is your name and your birthday, right? And so years later, so I literally grew up with this pounded into my head. And then years later, when I was being stalked by my daughter's father, it was a while before I called the police. It was only when it was to the point on a New Year's Eve where several people came over in the morning and said that he had had a gun at a party the night before and he was really drunk and he was going to go shoot me, but they kept him there. That was when I finally got one of them to go to the police, but it had been going on for almost a year of him even breaking in my house and hiding, and I never called the police because I had been trained not to call the police. So you actually have to look at Dylan's background and the fact that she's going out with some guy whose goal in life, which is beyond stupid, sorry to say, that wants to be in a gang. Bad choice in men right there. But for her to even think that this guy is any kind of future potential mate says to me that there's something in her background that might have a similar thing of not calling the police. Right. And so we don't know about her parents. We don't know if they have criminal records or if they're typical paranoid about law enforcement and identity. So we don't know how she's been trained. And she wakes up, runs out the door and calls people and says, I'm afraid to go in there. She may not have seen the bodies. She may just have an overwhelming sense of dread and it smells, and she may have run out of the house. And then when someone went over, like Hunter, if he was 100 feet away, he could have walked in and said, oh, they're dead. And that's when she fainted. I mean, it could have been that fast. Other than, she woke up and was like, oh my God, I saw her just really fast trying to get stuff to put in this box to toss. Does it matter? Like, to me, drug laws are way too strict anyway. Like, they should have where that shouldn't even be a situation, but where there's a felony and there's a death, they can charge everyone who has a felony. So it's like her needing to do that or taking some time to do that. She's 20. Isn't she like 19 or 20?
I think so. Yeah. 20. Yeah. Probably 1920.
And when people judge her, right? When you judge her, because a lot of my viewers are like 30 to 60. So when we judge this 20-year-old, try to remember how you perceive the world at age 20.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, me, okay. I grew up without a mom and I lived with my boyfriend starting age 16. And when I was 20, I have no idea what I would have done. I probably would have climbed out a back window and kept running till they found me, like freaked out.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So someone just donated $99. I want to make sure to say thank you.
Awesome.
Amy, I love you. Amy loves Louie, but I love Amy. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you. Thank you very much. So,
Donna, when I was 15, I was inside of a bank when it got robbed. And
really?
My mom was right there with me. And I was just opening up a savings account. So I was so new to
You're like, I'm not putting my money here.
Yeah, right. It was at Wells Fargo, 19th Avenue, Bethany Home Road in 2000, I think 2001, 2000 maybe. Anyway, guys came in. They had the whole nylon stockings over their head.
Really?
All I know is I look to my right or to my left, and I see these guys coming in the building, and I'm like, oh, immediately you hear everybody down. So me and my mom are pulling my mom. I'm trying to pull her down under the desk right in front of me because I'm actually meeting with a teller. So the teller's under her side of the desk. We're underneath the other side of her desk. And I'm just hearing her trying to make this phone call to 911. And she's clanking the phone and like can't get it back on the,
Oh no. Oh, because she's so scared. Yeah.
And it was so frightening. All I could think of was the movies when the big, guns come around and blaze everybody up and there's bullets everywhere and everybody's dead. That's all I could think about in that moment. It wasn't about me dying. It was about seeing my mom die in front of me. Like that's what freaked me out the most. So to me, that's one of the closest things to serious trauma when I think back in life so far.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was
definitely. And
among, like, the
so
what
then after the robbery or during the robbery,
yes.
then could you think, like, what was your thought process?
Oh gosh, I was just well, first of all, I was so young, really, so my mind wasn't very developed at all because I was just a teenager. But all I felt like for days was that PTSD. Like when I would walk into a building, I just constantly felt like something bad was going to happen again.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of avoidant of social places for quite a while, really.
Yeah.
It shook me up a lot, Donna. It was a
Yeah,
very
and trauma
freaky.
is something real, it's its own energy.
It is.
And
Yeah.
it's really hard to think or function, like,
Mhm.
I think Dylan is in such an extreme state of trauma that when they showed her to me in the Xanacronodal reading, I was worried about her hurting herself,
Yeah.
like, due to all this trauma, and you know, I think the questions are legitimate, but I think that she really needs people to pray for her and send her love, and she
Mhm.
is a victim, and we don't know how this played out. If you're 20 years old, you're wasted off your ass, you've moved into this party house where they've got every neighbor in town seems to
Yeah,
feel like they can come over and have a beer whether you're there or not. Like,
right.
house was essentially a public hall, is what it was. And
Mhm,
she's hearing all this stuff going on in there. Are they over there fighting? Well, if she thought Xana and Ethan were having some sort of fight, she obviously was not going to get involved in that. And then she hears the one upstairs and some throwing around. She says she went to sleep. The only way she could go to sleep with that kind of adrenaline going is if she truly didn't know or told herself it wasn't real.
mhm,
And with however much drugs and alcohol she had, it could. And it could be that she woke up, you know, and it smelled real bad, and she was afraid to look, and she went outside and called all the guys, and they come over and called the police.
mhm.
So it might turn out that, people want somebody to blame and they want somebody to hate. The
Yeah,
the person that needs to be blamed and hated is
Bryan,
Bryan, okay? Bryan is the one who did this, not Dylan,
that's a good point.
right? Dylan didn't do this. We can't really assume. So what did she say? She woke up around 10 and they called the police at noon? Or that she
Well,
woke up at 11?
that's what's alleged through those, like, people's posts that are supposed to have firsthand knowledge of, like, Dylan and her goings on that day, but
Yeah,
I don't think we've heard about that in any, like, formal document or anything, like, what she did
no.
that day, at least not that I know of.
Right. So do you know
Mhm.
what time the 911 call came in?
It was at 11:58 the call came in, but other than that, we don't know
11:58.
what time they got up that day, we don't know I mean, nothing has been verified from Ellie, so
And if she went to bed around 4 AM, she probably only woke up to go to the bathroom at 10 or 11,
could have
go
been.
back to bed or whatever. In that kind of, if you've been drinking or whatever, but maybe it
Mhm,
smelled so bad that she was like, felt scared and went outside and just called everyone to come just make
yeah,
sure everything was all right, but it turned out not to be all right. So, I mean, it could be completely innocent, and
yeah,
people are literally looking to blame this person. What if she committed suicide? I'm just gonna say the word, sorry
good
for the
point.
algorithm. Oh god, the algorithm. Uh, I was
Yeah,
worried when I watched her of her of this being a potential result for her.
right,
That the trauma and stress was so extreme that her brain could barely handle it, and I was just like, "Oh my god, I
wow,
hope she is surrounded by professionals that can help her through this, and people that really know." Like, I have severe PTSD. I have
mhm,
PTSD from all the things that happened in my life, and,
absolutely,
I hope she's around people who understand what that's like because the trauma is too much for a human brain.
for sure. My husband and I actually had a really good conversation about this maybe a week ago, and he was reminding me of a time when my mom I guess some guy came into my mom's backyard when she was home alone, uh, and instead of calling the cops, Guess who she called? She called my husband, and we weren't even living in the state of Arizona where my mom lives at the time. So instead of calling the cops, she called us, like, in North Carolina.
Oh, you
So
mean she thought someone was breaking in?
she knew that somebody was in her backyard. I don't know what. Sorry if you guys are hearing these alerts on my computer. Yeah, instead of calling the cops, she called my husband and I, and somebody had possibly been in her backyard because she's hearing the dogs bark. She's
Oh,
hearing
so
all
she
this
calls you in another state.
Yeah. Like, what are
Yeah.
we gonna do, Mom? We don't live down the street. We live
Yeah.
states away. But instead of calling cops, she called us. So I thought that was interesting. That was a good reminder that in moments of stress, in moments of trauma, like the unexpected, sometimes you do things that don't exactly make sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. And so your mom did not call the police first
She
before she
didn't
called you
call the
guys.
police. She called us. And we're like, Mom, call the cops.
Yeah. So it's
That'll
it's the
get
same thing. It's because you know what
you.
happens is when you disassociate, then there isn't the rational normal thought. It's just this panic of not knowing what to do, trying to call
Yeah.
someone to help you know what to do. So that I believe is the situation with Dylan only times 100, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Did I
Oh yeah,
see?
and someone mentioned about the face mask. So it would be normal if there was a guest, right? And he was getting ready to go outside. If he had a mask on, you might not think twice.
Mhm.
In that house, in that house, you see, you always got to keep going back and reminding yourself, this is a party house. I used to live in a party house, and it
Yeah.
was fun.
Mhm.
It was fun being that age and having all that fun.
Right.
But it could, and especially the way it's so big and shaped funny. It's like
It is an awkward
you could
layout.
see someone go back. You could see someone walk past you in the night and just think, oh, that's creepy and being scared. But then, um, going to bed and not thinking much of it because they're always doing that,
Mhm.
every weekend.
True.
So,
Good point.
yeah.
Oh, Donna, I gotta get going. I gotta go get my daughter.
How
But
long have we been on here? Almost an hour.
well,
Okay.
47 minutes.
Okay, so keep us updated. So this is Lauren. Her channel's name is Sweetie Pilo. If you're not subscribed, you can subscribe and we'll
Yeah.
keep an update. So she's got someone out there with a metal detector,
Yeah.
right?
Let's
Because
see if
this
it comes
guy
in.
on
Mhm.
one of the social media platforms where we know Bryan was putting information, somebody that may be him put coordinates of outside of Moscow. And this is before Bryan was ever arrested,
Oh, yeah. We
right?
didn't know who Brian was yet.
Yeah,
So,
and that person was, arrogantly putting coordinates where they could find something. He even said on another post, he said, um, "I'll be hiding in shithole Pennsylvania, so good
yes.
luck finding me." That's what he
Exactly.
said, and
I know.
on
It's
December 12th,
unbelievable.
I think. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, keep in touch with her channel and make sure
Yeah.
you're subscribed to my channel as well.
Yeah. It's so good to
Okay.
see you, Donna. And
Yeah, thank you for
thanks,
coming
everybody.
on.
Yeah,
Thank you for
thank
coming
you.
on. So I'll
I
just
hope
stay here a few minutes longer and see if there's any questions from people.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
Okay.
everybody take care. Have a great rest of your day, and lots of love to you, Donna, and the audience. Take care.
Okay. Bye,
Okay.
Lauren.
Bye.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so here I am. So I'll probably spend about 10 more minutes, see if any of you have any more questions. Um, did anyone listen to, oh, look, here's thank you. Oh, I said thank you to that person. Do any of you have any questions? Did his family no, the Coburg bread seems to be it's a family-owned bread company out of Europe. It's the largest family-owned bread company in Europe. It's called Coburg Breads. So that was a clue that really would only be known after unless somebody was looking. But the spirit part of the thing is the spirit people want to prove that they're real. The spirit people want you to know that the spirit world is real. They want you to know that they're there. If you have loved ones that are passed, they often will try to give you signs and let you know that they're there. So that is one of those clues. So the flicking bullocks person, Says, what about the red-haired guy? So it's like you always got to go back to the reading. Go back to the reading because talking and talking and talking. So I talk in the first reading, which was uploaded November 22nd. I'm talking about I'm seeing the guy after he parks and I'm seeing him walk up the street and he has like red hair. And then as he's walking to the house, all of a sudden he has brunette hair. And then in the house, he only has brunette hair. And if you remember, I was actually asking, is there two guys? And I didn't get any spirit energy. Is there one guy? And I got spirit energy with that. And then I said, I don't understand this. Does this guy put brown dye in his hair to make his hair less red? And that's right in the first reading. And so I also play that clip again in the psychic overview. So it'll be interesting to see if that was only Bryan. Like, was this symbolic? He goes in there being Bryan and he comes out being, the devil. Time will tell if there's any other red-haired people involved, anybody that inadvertently filled out one of his forms or the DoorDash driver. If not, I think what we're going to see is going into this trial, unless they let him dye his hair in prison, he's going to have redder and redder hair as he goes and faces trial. So let's see. Yeah, Lauren is pretty. Let's see. Will he be convicted? Yes, he will be convicted. He will be convicted. It's the shed. Okay, so this lady's asking about that shed or the little house behind Bryan's parents' house. It is possible that he brought the knife there, and I did write a letter to the tip line. So I've sent 11 letters to the tip line. And I called them once. And I did just say, just due to the fact that the reading is there and it seems to be right on target, it wouldn't be a bad idea to put a metal detector around that shed back there. But then he also went way out of his way to get home. And then he took an afternoon trip where he turned off his phone again for 3 more hours. So it's just as likely that he buried it on that trip. So is he the only killer? That's a really good question. Is he the only killer? He's the only actual killer. He's the only person that I saw in the house during the time of the killing, committing the killings. I think a really good question that people have is, has Bryan killed before? That's a really good question. I'm going to listen to my readings that I didn't upload, but it also reminds me of something before I sign off that I want to say about this latest reading I did with Travis Jewetton. So for people who don't know, there were 2 other stabbings, and actually there's one in Utah, but there are 2 other stabbings that have some similarities, that the person went in probably in the middle of the night, and it was around 3 a.m. Now somebody's made a YouTube video saying that they were all vegans. And if that's true, that's a connection to be explored. So maybe we'll get that guy on the show at some point. But would the person, I don't think I could rule Bryan in or out, because during the murdering part, because I had a family member on the phone, I didn't actually want to see the details. So I didn't see his face exactly, but they showed me this man who killed Travis had murdered before. They showed me him murdering a girl in the woods. He was choking her and putting her head under the water and stuff like that. And I was also getting something about a shooting. So I don't know if the guy had shot someone before, but I 100% believe that the person who murdered Travis has murdered before, and they were showing me that murder of a woman. Okay, let's see. Let's see if there's any more. What about Bethany? I know we never hear anything about Bethany. She's keeping herself very quiet. Very quiet. So just trauma. Because you watch the interviews from the people that were affected that lived in the house where Ted Bundy did this, and they had PTSD for years. This is, it's pretty serious. Let's see, has Kaylee been coming? Kaylee did come after. I told you guys that. That is so funny. I've been really busy doing a bunch of other readings, but when I did the reading for some friends of hers, there was 3 people there. Kaylee was saying, "You could have my boyfriend. You could have my boyfriend." And one of the girls laughed and said that Kaylee used to always say that. Like when she'd break up with someone, she'd go, "You should go out with him," and stuff like that. So we wasn't sure if it was only just showing who she is or if she meant it, but it felt like she also meant it. Like if any of her friends wanted to go out with Jack, don't feel guilty. You can have him. Da, 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 da. And then it was a couple days after that, I felt her presence when I was meditating. And it was like she wanted me to let Jack know, or put it out there to let Jack know that it's fine to go out with someone else. It's fine to go out with my friends. It's fine to find love and comfort. So I thought that was really interesting. So it seemed important enough for her to come back and add that in. Let's see. Then why was she frozen in fear? I don't know. I think we covered that. What about Bryan Kohberger? Okay, so I put up a statement that his friend made. That's not my personal feeling. That is verbatim. I read his friend's statement. And I don't know about Bryan Kohberger. His friend was going to do a reading and then we just didn't do it. So it's not his friend's fault or my fault. We just, I think he was nervous about it and then I just didn't call him. So Bryan Kohberger, I don't know one way or another. Brent's willing. If Brent wants to come and talk to me, I am willing to record whatever I pick up from him. Let's see. Oh, active subtitles. Okay, I have to figure out that. Facebook, Psychic Reverend. She may have seen the murder of Xana. So I assume you're talking about Dylan. It must have been a really weird thing to see this guy coming out saying, "I'm going to help you," and then coming out with a mask. But then again, maybe she thought they ordered some drugs or something. And maybe, you know what I mean? We don't know. We're not really going to know until trial. So let's see. Oh, I said there's questions. So there's questions. Yeah, they're going to have questions. They're going to have a field day with Dylan there. But at the same time, Bryan's the one who went and killed the people. Okay. Bryan went and slaughtered all these people. So you have some 20-year-old who is probably inebriated like all of them and who closed her door, locked it, and didn't come out for quite a few hours. That's what you have. That's not the level of where the people send in her hate like that. Okay, some good news. Oh, congratulations, Cherish. I'm retired. The DoorDash. Let's see. Yeah, so Spencer, you'll have to go back from the front. We did cover Ann Taylor. Seems a little weird and a conflict of interest still, and something that could be taken as an appeal. To me, it's stupid. Personally, you know what we should talk about? Okay, watch this week. I'll put out a video about, is Bryan a demon? That's a whole nother issue. Okay, let's see. Conflict of interest. Robert Yates, serial killer. Interesting. We should look up Robert Yates and see if he's still alive or not. Yeah, I think that what happened is that there's a whole lot of a void of information on this case that shocks so many people. And so I think that's getting filled in with they need something to talk about. And I just think that Dylan's like 19 or 20 years old. She was high. She didn't know what was going on. She had not I don't think she had lived in that house all that long, but she definitely wasn't the boss of it. You could see that those other girls were the boss of everything. And she wasn't questioning, they make a bunch of noise. Who is she to go tell them what to do? So she goes back in her room. I think that people need to pray for Dylan. I really think that people need to pray for her. Let's see if there's any more questions. Why was Dylan in shock seeing a guy in the house? I would think that because there's part of her subconscious that knew something wasn't right. I mean, but the thing is, even at any age, when you say, "Oh, is this right?" Like Lauren was talking about being in the bank when it was robbed. Or I saw when my mom was parking when I was around 10, I saw a man shoot another man like 20 feet away from me. And I don't remember having he flew backwards, and it just seemed weird to me the way he flew backwards. It's like your brain kind of goes into shock, and then you're not processing information normally, how I think. Let's see. Veronica says a lot of dirt coming out about Pullman and WSUPD. Bryan possibly worked as an intern. Hunter J. possible. Hunter. Yeah, I know that several of the officers from the Pullman Police Department either quit or resigned. I know that Bryan applied to be an intern. It'll be interesting to see if he went on any ride-alongs, right, to that house. And I know that the people at the Mad Greek, the owners, desperately want to counteract the People magazine article stating that Bryan went into the Mad Greek for the vegan pizza. They don't like that. But if you're seeing 100 or 200 people a day in a restaurant, unless they come every day, you're not going to recognize them again. So I don't think the Mad Greek can deny it. And I'm sure People magazine has the name of the former employee that told them that, or they'll go to court. So let's see if there's any more. Yeah, hidden. I saw him I saw a smaller tree, and it seemed like a hunting. Remember I said it looks like a hunting cabin. So that would be, so I heard, let's see. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you guys is I have a group on Facebook. It's a discussion group. We discussed whatever cases I'm working on. And we do talk about people. So like, if you don't want to talk about people, like I let people discuss what they think about Dylan or what they think about the Mad Greek. They don't have to agree. They just have to respect each other. And we don't allow spamming in there, but we do allow discussion. So if you want to see it, it's my name of my channel essentially. So if you go on Facebook for groups and Psychic Reverend Donna Seraphina, and then it says like readings and investigations, you can join us there if you want to get involved with more conversation. And also if you're doing sleuthing and you have information you want to share and see what other people have come up with, please feel free to join us there. Okay. So I think with that, I'm going to sign off. And I just appreciate all of you. You give my life meaning. And it's just, I like being able to work this way. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And let's see if there's anything. Oh, thank you to the moderator. So now we have a really good team of moderators led by Teresa Allison. Teresa made the video where it's like psychic detectives or whatever. That video about the Lori Vallow case that compares some of my work with what was said at the prelim. So that's your head moderator, Teresa Allison. And she also used to be the next door neighbor to Susan Powell. And Susan Powell was a woman that was murdered by her husband. And then when he got visitation to the 2 boys. He blew up the house he was in, which was a different one, not next door to her, and with the 2 boys. So that's Teresa, and thank you so much for being here today. I really, really appreciate it. I'm gonna try to do a weekly live stream, and my goal is to upload at least several times a week. So I'll be doing that, so stay tuned, all right? Okay, you guys, thank you for joining me today, and take care of yourself, allow the love in, and know that your loved ones are nearby. If you ask them to show you signs, they will. They love you. They love you from the other side, and when you think of them, they can hear your thoughts. With that, I'll just say quickly that people have made fake accounts of me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. They take my photo and they do a variation of my name and they solicit paid readings, but it's really a trick. So if you are interested in a reading or mentorship or any other service that I have, just email me. I'll put that in the link. I'll type it here. Email me, and it will take me about a month to get back to you, just because it'll take me about a month to get back to you. Just there's a lot of emails in there. I can't get to them all, but I do them in the order. So just do that, and that's the only way to book a reading is through that way. All right, I think that went in there. Okay, so I hope you all have a good day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye.